Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to be getting our feathers ruffled as we go through unpopular bookish opinions that you guys submitted, and we are going to be reacting and commenting on them. I love seeing and reading different people's bookish hot takes, whether they're hot and spicy or mild, because some of y'all think you got some unpopular opinions when they are in fact popular opinions. Being a Colleen Hoover hater in the year of 2024 is not unpopular. Calling popular book talk books trash in the year of 2024 is not unpopular. I apologize for starting this video heated. We haven't even gotten to the actual unpopular opinions yet, and I'm already over here flailing about. It's the year of flailing about. Join in on all the flailing. Let's have a flail of a time. I went over on my community tab here on YouTube and asked you guys to submit your unpopular bookish opinions. I'm always fearful in doing these videos that I'm gonna get the same opinion over and over again, but y'all came through with the unique opinions. Like, some of these are solid, some of these are unique, some of these I've never heard before. I'm excited to explore a few today and see if I agree or hardcore disagree. Let's get into it. I'm going to be reading these off my computer, so bear with me. The first two go hand in hand. So this one says, books can be fun. They don't need a deep, serious plot or have a literary critique. They can just be fun. Then this one says, sometimes a book is just meant to be read for fun. Not all books are there to be taken seriously. The time has gone when we just read for fun. You're so right for this. Like, can we normalize sometimes books just being fun? Can we enter back into an era where books are just fun? Please, please, please. Don't get me wrong. I love a book that comes into my life and hits me with philosophical questions, big-brained insight, and life lessons. Hit me in the face with your life-changingness. I'll gobble that up all day. But also, like, only reading books like that back to back to back, boring. Say it with me now, boring. All together now, boring. Variety is key in unlocking a beautiful reading life. Give me variety, give me levels, a few serious books here and there, and then some little fun ones to fill the in-between slots. I don't know if this perspective comes from me being on social media a lot, which it probably does in fact have to do with me being on social media. So if you feel differently, then let me know. But I feel like because we are in this social media age and people share everything, that including the books we read, I feel like some people are afraid to share those like fun books because they want to look like an intellectual. They want to make sure that they're looking really educated. They're reading the classics. They're reading the greats, which can't relate. The Neon Hunger Games covers are the best covers in book history. You're so wrong for that. In fact, you're canceled. How dare you trigger me in reminding me that these horrific book covers exist? And now all of you are having to deal with seeing this nonsense as well. Symptoms for seeing these book covers include eyeballs bleeding. You don't have to read a certain amount of books a month to be considered a bookworm. If you love to read, you are. You don't have to read a lot to fit into the category of someone who loves excellent literature. Let them hear it. Take that point and shout it for all to hear. I feel like it can be easy to compare your own experiences to others, especially in the social media age that we're living in. You're constantly seeing other people's experiences, other people's highlight reels, and it just like makes you feel bad about yourself sometimes. And comparison is the thief of joy, my dudes. And for the 1000th time, reading is not a competition. It can start to feel that way when you're in these like bookish spaces and you see so many people like reading so many books, but just try your best to not compare yourself to other people. But also just remember that like everybody's time is different. There are some people that just have more time to commit to reading. And also there's not like a certain limit that you have to reach each month or by the end of the year with how many books that you've read. Like, just read. Like, try your best to just focus on the actual joy that comes with reading a book. Also, you don't have to buy books to be a bookworm. You don't have to have a massive book collection to be a bookworm. You don't have to go to book signings. You don't have to read the popular books. You don't have to have fancy bookmarks. All you have to do is read, and you don't have to read a lot, and you don't have to read often. I don't know if there are people out there that are like setting rules for like what it takes to be a book lover, but like if there are people that are doing that, like please block them. Please block them. They need to take a seat. You yourself get to define what it looks like to be a book lover. Okay, I'm getting off the soapbox. Next. In my opinion, there's too much of a focus on romance in books being published nowadays. I often get irritated at romance subplot because I feel like many of them are forced, probably because marketing your books as enemies to lovers or other popular tropes helps to sell a book. Personally, I just prefer books about friendship, which I feel isn't represented nearly enough in publishing, but I feel like this is going to harm books in the long run when they don't conform to tropes in a way readers want. I hear you with this one, and I don't think that it's necessarily bad to like have romance as a subplot, but I do feel like we have entered this era of books and storytelling where there is romance in everything. Romance in stories where there doesn't need to be a romance. And it's beginning to be a bit much, a bit overwhelming. I'm drowning over here. Like, the next thing we know, there's going to be a revised version of the dictionary with full-on smut scenes embedded in it. I should not have even said that thought out loud because I feel like that's manifesting that to happen. I don't want to speak it into the universe and have it actually happen. The day a dictionary is published with a smut scene in it, I'm signing off. Sayonara. I think with any trending thing, this will eventually wear off and we'll get back to having more of a variety of books being published. It's just going to be hard for a second because almost everything being published these days falls under the romantasy umbrella. And God help us all because I'm already a little bit tired of it. Can we form a support group to ride this wave about. I do think it's nice that we have like an actual subgenre for that type of fantasy now. And also, to be clear, I'm not here to poop on romantasy. I don't want to poop on anything unless it's a toilet. I'm glad we cleared that up. All that to say, I just think it gets exhausting when you're only seeing books from one genre, or when a trend just explodes and you literally can't avoid it. And if there was more variety, it wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is, there's not much variety right now. We should really encourage more library usage whenever possible. Yes, this, retweet, repost, I'm on board. This is something that I really want to work on moving forward. I am on a book buying ban this year, so you will catch me at the library often. Going to ask my librarian this next week if I can move in, because I'll pretty much be living there from here on out. So if you want to say hi, come visit my local library. I don't know how unpopular this is anymore, but I get so annoyed when people say books are bad because they're not super intellectual or perfectly written. Sometimes I want that, but mostly I read to enjoy myself. Books can still be good without always being good, if that makes sense. I definitely understand this one, and I feel like this is something that I learned on TikTok recently. I can't remember which TikToker said it, but it was some book talker, and they were talking about how to be like a better reviewer, which I feel like I need to work on as well. But they were saying that like people need to work on meeting a book where it's at. If you're going into a book like Fourth Wing, you need to meet that book where it's at. You need to meet that book with what it's delivering and not your expectations. If you're going into that book wanting it to be this like really intellectual thing with big questions and have it be just like very eye-opening, you're going to be disappointed when those expectations are not going to be met, and that's on you. That's not on the book. It's not the book's fault. The book does not promise to fulfill that checklist, and it doesn't make a book less important just because it doesn't achieve literary greatness. I also feel like in general, books that kind of fall under this sort of intellectual umbrella and books that fall under this sort of like lighthearted fun umbrella are in two different playing fields and should be approached differently and should be rated differently, but maybe that's a hot take in and of itself. Books can serve several different purposes. That's all I will say. You don't have to have a favorite book. Books, despite being such wonderful sources of knowledge and inspiration, rarely change our lives. I think this is why so many people collectively struggle with naming one favorite book. It's the act of reading that is most important, the act of staying curious and passionate about stories rather than any one story defining us. Wow. This was such a fascinating take, and I'm kind of here for it. I mean, I feel like if you love the actual act of reading and you read a lot, like you're inevitably going to find a favorite book. Like that's just how it works. But I do like this approach of it less being about trying to find a favorite book, trying to find the next 5-star read, and just having the act of reading books be enough. Like, that's beautiful. Just such a fascinating take. I feel like I'm sitting here like trying to think of things to add to it, but like you said what you said, and I feel like it was like a mic drop situation, so I'm gonna let that mic drop. A reading slump is not always a bad thing. Sure, it sucks when you want to read but can't seem to get into a book, but sometimes it's a sign that it's time to engage with other hobbies for a while. Just because we're readers, it doesn't mean we need to just read all the time. This is very true, and I feel like after going through a reading slump, like you just appreciate reading so much more. And yes, of course, reading slumps are not fun to go through. They're a pain in the butt, especially if you have some kind of reading goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year. Like, the last thing that you want is a reading slump to come knocking at your door. But at the end of the day, a reading slump does allow you the chance to take a step back, focus yourself somewhere else, enjoy other activities, and when you come back, your love for reading will be refreshed, and you'll probably read more than you ever have because you've reset that craving to read. I don't want books to be shorter or edited down. I want to read 1,000-page long books. I want the narrator to break into philosophical rants and little sarcastic historical anecdotes that have little to do with the plot. I want to spend a whole day reading a book without fear that it'll end too soon if I consume it too intensely. Are you sure, bestie? This is honestly something that like I cannot relate to. I mean, I guess I have had moments where I've been reading a book and I was like, I would love for this to be going on forever and ever and ever, but like realistically, taking myself out of that euphoric feeling that I have sometimes while I'm reading a book, ain't no way you can actually make a book interesting enough to keep me attached to it for thousands of pages. I will, in fact, get bored. There's just no way. There's just no way you can make it interesting enough to keep me in it. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe lots of people will agree with you, but like, can't relate. I actually love when books from one series don't match, whether it's size or height or paperback/hardcover difference, or sometimes even when the publisher changes the style of the covers mid-series. I just think mismatched series add a little pizzazz to the shelves. I can't get on board with this, even though like I get it and I know that it works for other people. It's clearly just not my vibe. And like I get it. I know that like the cover's not important. The fact that they're mismatched is not important. Like the most important thing is the story itself. But I just still will always be a ride or die for series being matched. I'm sorry. This is just like my one thing. I just need the book series to be uniform. Otherwise it makes my eyes twitch in irritation. Not every book needs to be in a series series or a duology or a trilogy. Just write one book and be done with it. I don't want to buy/borrow multiple books for one storyline sometimes. Yes, this 100 times this. This is a call out specifically to all fantasy writers out there because I feel like this is often where we see series upon series upon series within the fantasy genre, and this is me saying, we don't need it. We don't always need it. Why does everything have to be a series? Give me that one and done hit and let's move on. Plus, more times than not, there's that one book in the series that did not need to be there. That one book that's just like filler. And it's always the worst book. It drags and drags and drags. There's literally no point to it. The main important part of it happens at the end of the book, and it's just a bridge book. It was worthless other than that one important thing that happens at the end. Like, if you're going to give us a book series, every book in that series needs to be fulfilling. Chop, 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 chop. There have been times when I've been reading a series and I was like, oh, okay, the author sold X amount of books, and they're just trying to hit that quota. They didn't necessarily plan out for the series to be as long as it's going to be. So they're just like making stuff up just to make stuff up. Anyway, this is very clearly something that frustrates me with a lot of series, and I'm just letting that pain and frustration out right now. I'm sorry. I think authors need to take longer between books. So many authors are writing multiple books a year to keep people interested, and the books are suffering from a lack of thought and editing. I'm with you on this, and I feel like we live in a culture where authors feel like if they don't keep the wheels turning, that they will not remain relevant. And I get it. You're at the top today. You could easily be at the bottom tomorrow, but the quality is the most important thing. And readers can feel when not much love and care has been put into a book. Like, we are not dumb. And sure, there are writers out there who are very fast at their craft and can whip up a book very easily. So I get it. There are some authors out there who can write really fast and kind of maintain that quality. But then there are those who can't really keep up that quality and are still pushing out books left and right. I don't know if this is just like an industry pressure. Are the publishers putting the pressure on the writers? Is it a self-induced pressure? I don't know the tea, but I can always feel when a book has been rushed, and it's always upsetting. I think it's boring when all books on a shelf are the same size. I want books in a series to match, but I like having a variety of book sizes on my shelves. This feels like a direct call out, but I'll take it. Come for me all you want, but I love my same size bookshelves. This shelf is not that same sized. It looks like it is from far away, but the books are definitely not the same size. But the shelves that are, it is so satisfying. Let me tell you, I can run my hands across it and it's just satisfying. Books that make you uncomfortable aren't bad books. They hit something that made you feel something. Thinking from someone else's perspective is something that makes us question ourselves. Someone somewhere has those feelings, even if they don't tell you about it. I agree with this one, but I don't feel like I often see people calling books that are uncomfortable to them as bad. I just see people saying that they're uncomfortable. I definitely think it's important to ask ourselves why certain things are making us uncomfortable. It's a chance to reflect on ourselves and question why certain elements might be making us feel some kind of way. It's always nice to challenge ourselves and to see some growth. So I agree. Changing your reading goal at the end of the year to match the amount of books you actually read is not cheating. Yes, I agree with this one. It's your goal. If anybody is telling you that you're lame for changing your goal, block them. You can do whatever you want. It's not that serious. If new story material isn't included, it's not a special edition. It's an alternate cover or something. I'm a huge book cover lover, but an edition is not special if the only change is the cover and end pages. This is a fascinating take and something that I've never explored, but like, I definitely see your perspective. You came in with that opinion and made several points. I'm seated, I'm listening, I'm processing. I think I low-key see myself agreeing with you here, and I didn't think that I would, because the truth is the book is not its cover. It's not its edges. It's not its end papers. A book is the story inside. And I see your point in some way for like a book to actually be special edition, like something should be like altered within the story. I just don't know what that would look like though, because I don't think that the actual story should ever be altered, but like including deleted scenes and things like that, like I'd be okay with that. And I know that that's something that's been done a lot in the past. Like we've gotten deleted scenes, or we've gotten like insight interviews with the authors and whatnot within the actual special editions. So things like that make sense to me, but I don't think like actually altering the story and changing things, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that that's something that should be messed with, but interesting take. You've got me thinking. I low-key agree with you, but I also feel like I am satisfied with just getting a special edition that has a new shiny cover and sprayed edges. But that's because I'm basic. I hate for readers of X author / X series comparisons. I understand it from a marketing standpoint, but as a reader, I now have a super high or super low expectations before even reading the first page, solely based on how much I like the author / series mentioned. 100% this. And I feel like the books are oftentimes never really that similar to the books they're being compared to, or the authors they're being compared to. And it just adds on another level of expectations. Like you already have some expectations going in after reading the description opinion, or after seeing the book out there in the wild on different lists and things, like you have different expectations going into the book. And that just can like sometimes add another layer on top of that. Those are all the unpopular opinions that I'm going over today, but let me know down below in the comments all your thoughts on some of these unpopular opinions. Were there some that like you really agreed on, some that you really strongly disagreed with? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts on things like this, so be sure to drop me a comment down below. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.